What's up, guys? It's your host Spartanic Arts DxD back with another high school DxD related video. And today we have What If Issei Left, part 7. If we could hit 500 or 600 likes for this video, that'd be absolutely amazing. I know it took me a while to come back and things like that, etc. But, I'm all good now in the mindscape. I'm chilling, big stuff, And if you guys want to know exactly when I upload, such my upload schedule, click the little blue button right next to the subscribe button. And also click the first link in the premiere if you're in the premiere, which I know you are. I know at least 100 you or like whatever's going to be in here, so hit that like button. We want to hit 500 or 600 likes. And, click the first link down in the description below as well, which is my channel membership, which is telling you exactly when I upload such my upload schedule. If you guys were able to join, that'd be absolutely amazing. The lowest ones are almost like only $2.99, so that'd be absolutely amazing. If you can't, you can't. If you will, you will. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And without any further ado, let's go ahead and talk about my second channels. I'm just messing around. So my second channel, Popowski, is about to hit 60,000. Spartanic's approaching 40,000, and my TikTok has 38,000. So overall, we actually have 100,000 people in general, which is absolutely amazing and super cool to think about. So thank you guys so much for the support that's going on. Once again, let's try to hit 500, 600 likes. And without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's go and thank my balance breakers: Aunt Lewis, Lachlan Yates, Jordan Pacho, Night Ammo, Repeak135, Slow, the Black Dragon Emperor, Keep Saying 21, $5 Sake Sake, If You're Wish Type 2347, XOX108, Ziki 2000, Leon Gorko, Chaotic Raven, Selvix, Mazaku, Dr_MLG_ is the bomb, Grimfire Shot Gamer, Ryogu, Beta Joe 98, and Soul Responder. Thank you so much for becoming a balance breaker. So let me have a little bit of an explanation of why I took so long to get back in the first place. I had to move from college, get out, get back, all those things, you know what I'm saying? And, 2 months of summer, like things like that, etc. And then I go back in like 2 months, which is around August 17th is when I officially dip and go back again. So just fair warning. So yeah, but there's gonna be a ton of videos. Like I promise you, like a ton of videos this summer. So just expect the best. And without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into part 7. Picking back up where we left off, Issei was about to touch the red gem. It was a red gem with many silver lines. By the way, we're in the middle of chapter 16. It was a red gem with many silver lines. It seemed that it had a smaller one under it. Issei brought his hand closer to the gem, and in touching it with his hand, felt as his turbulent feelings calmed down. It was as if a hole was being calmed. When he tried to get the gem out, it came off as if nothing bad happened. The gem was in Issei's hand as he looked at it incuriously. "It's incredible," Issei says, impressed and awe of the gem. "It's normal, because there is a special heart gem for each dragon that enters this cave," Ddraig says. Issei turned his gaze towards Seizen directly, and he gave the corpse a bow in form of respect. "Thank you very much," Issei says, paying his respects to the dragon. As he was beginning to turn and leave, something responded. "You're welcome," whispered the corpse. Issei looked back at the corpse, seeing that it didn't change. He let out a sigh and proceeded to walk to the exit with the gem in hand. A few minutes later, Issei gradually left the lake with the sound of the waterfall in the background, returning to the spot where he decided his clothes and sat down with his legs crossed and the gem between his legs. "So now what?" Issei says, without moving from his position and gaze onto the gem. "You needed to do 2 things. The second would be to go to my cave and make the magic circle of the ritual," Ddraig said. "And the first?" Issei said. "Well, you know that each dragon, when it reaches a point of its existence, can combine in a skill of an element of their own, or another type," Ddraig says. "And what does that have to do with me?" Issei says. "As I told you, after the ritual, your dragon powers will be dormant, but I want to see if you are ready to get your own ability," Ddraig says. "You think I'm ready for that?" Issei replies. "Yes, I believe in you," his tone showing pride in his partner. "So what do I have to do?" Issei says, gaining a little confidence. "You have to go to your subconscious, or you can call it your inner world. When you arrive, you have to look for the name of a skill and how to use it. In my case, it was diving in a volcano until my body was sheltered by the heat and lava. I had to take my mind away from the heat. When doing so, I arrived at a white plain where there was a plaque that explained everything about my boost ability," Ddraig says, remembering his own test. "And what does the volcano have to do with your ability?" Issei says. "The pressure of the lava symbolizes the pressure on the body that is subjected by increasing its power, and heat is the heat that generates erratic energy by increasing its amount," Ddraig says. "And how do you think my test would be?" Issei says, looking at the lake. "I don't know. It's different for every dragon," Ddraig says. "What do I do to enter in my inner world?" Issei says, a little excited to obtain his own aura. First, close your eyes. Issei does so. Next, breathe and empty your mind completely. Just focus on my voice. Issei follows Draig's instructions. Now concentrate on that void. Look at the end of it while listening to my voice. Issei concentrated on the void. The road will be difficult. You will discover things about yourself that you did not know. But remember that I am here for support. It was the last thing Issei heard from his partner. Ddraig? Issei says, opening his eyes and seeing that he was in a city of black and gray and white. I'm where I talked to Jiko, looking at the surroundings, but what happened to this place? Issei says it was burning before, but now it's changed. In the inner world, the houses in the park that Issei had seen last time he had been here, there were millions of skyscrapers, parts of Earth were leafing through the air. But the most disconcerting thing was that everywhere there were cracks on the ground, the houses even on the sky. Among those cracks were scorch marks. So this is my inner world. That means my aura to be... He was interrupted by a similar voice. It was time, huh? Jiko says. It was heard all over the world. Jiko, where are you? Issei says, looking around for his self. No. It won't be that easy. You have to look for me, little dragon, speaking mockingly as his whole voice rumbled all over the world. Are you serious? You think I can fucking find you in this world? Issei says, clearly livid at the task at hand. Easy. Follow my voice, Jiko says. So are you on a test something then? Issei says, more or less, but if you don't hurry, you'll miss the party. Jiko says, alright then, Issei replied, gritting his teeth, both annoyed but determined. Issei ran forward to where the park was. When he arrived, he saw someone from the other side, but did not see anything strange. Jiko, Issei said. What? Jiko replied. Now what do, huh? Issei said, looking back and forth for something or anything. Do you see something that was not there last time you came? Jiko says, returning to a mocking tone. Something that was not, trailing off until he looked towards the front. That's it, seeing a statue of somewhat far away. Issei approached and opened his eyes. When he saw the statue was... Sarah-chan? Issei says upon getting a closer look at the statue. Beautiful, isn't it? What you have to do is go down the stairs. I'm waiting for you, Jiko says, his tone becoming malicious. Seeing the one side of the statue, there's a staircase down. Those stairs are headed to the stairs. The only sounds heard were the steps that Issei went down them. After a few steps, the light outside where he came disappeared. The place was completely black. The steps, once ceiling, and everything was black. He continued to head down the stairs, and lower he got, the heavier the tension became. Eventually, his sight became to see where the steps of another color the lower he got. These steps were gray, and when stepping on the top one, the place changed, because now he was in a gray corridor, and out of nowhere he began to hear something. Now, in the depths of the inner world. Everything was dark until a light appeared, which under it was a black and white Issei. This Issei was dark and had a white suit. Well, it's time, Jiko said, walking a few steps to get what looked like a microphone. Out of nowhere, several lights appeared, and under them was a copy of Serzek, Sectodius, and Michael. They wore dark suits, and each of them had different musical instruments. Now let the show begin, Jiko says, smiling malevolently. Now, in the hallway with Issei, in the corridor... Many images appeared on the walls. From the ceiling, a melody began to be heard. Issei just kept walking forward as the melody accompanied him. Issei walked and came to the first image. It was him crying on the ground in the rain. The second was of him hitting the ground again and again. The next one is him running to the house. The next one after that is Rias in front. The next image is him shouting at Rias loudly. The next one is being him slapped by Rias. The final image of this sequence was him hitting her in the stomach and backhanding her to the ground. Perhaps it was better you have left you with Riser. I think I saved Riser from you, and not only the other way around. Actually, maybe I should have let Volley kill you that night at the factions meeting. I remember those words you said. You said you won't have regrets. You better hope so, because I'm not saving you from this mess. I'm not your toy, and you're on your own. I hope you can own up to the lives you destroyed, Princess of Ruin, Issei says. The next set of images came. This was one when he was in front of his room. The next one was from entering his room. The one that follows is him seeing them having sex with Volley, Casper, and Kiba, and Sanji. The next one is him running with Ascalon activated, stabbing Sanji, Kiba, Volley, and Gasper as they were stunned by his presence and rendered uselessness. The next one is one of him screaming at all of the girls with tears in his eyes. The one that follows them is getting up and confronting him. The final image of this series that follows him is of him activating the boosted gear and hitting Konako, who wanted to hit him. You used to call me the worst, Konako. But I never did what you did. I never betrayed anyone. I was once a pervert, but none of you ever paid attention. It seems I accepted all of your flaws, but yet none of you had the decency to say you didn't love me. You had the audacity to do it in my room, but then again, that house was never my house. I'll get my own and live freely. You all made your choices, so live with your sins and maybe some of you will become better. If you own up to them, I own up to my sin of being a pervert. Can you do the same? Issei finishes. The next image set came. It started off with an image of him, a chair of his house. The next one was of his parents entering behind him. The image that follows is him beating Goro to the ground. Next image was Miki screaming to see Issei hear Goro again and again, until his face looked like raw meat. The next image that is as follows, of the girls and the idiots appearing to try to control them. The image after that was Issei shoving Lafay and Kuroka aside, creating holes in the wall as they try to get off from Goro. The one that follows in him being hit by a lightning ray from Akano, but he gets up and slices her fallen angel wings off. Next image showed Volley being stabbed in the stomach by Issei as the energy of Ascalon rendered him useless. The image that follows was taking Kiba's sword and stabbing him with his own blade. Next image was Gasper trying to stop Issei, but quickly stabbed in the eyes, making him useless. The final image was Rias throwing a sphere of destruction, aiming for his left arm, but he dodges it and swiftly decapitates her. A stunning outcome to all of that is in the image, except him. Did they really think I wouldn't have killed them? I learned my lesson with Rainier on that front. This time I confronted my problems head on. It's what I always did. I guess this is what I was feeling when I said I could activate the Juggernaut drive and did not care what happens. Kinda feels good to get all the anger out. Well, I guess I did when I broke Goro's wrist, but I did warn him to get his hand off my shoulder. They thought they could control me when they replaced me. Well, joke's on them. I got better parents now, with a small smile remembering those that cared about him. The gray corridor ended and Issei's expression was of serenity and peace. It had not changed since he entered this corridor. He wasn't fazed by the images and expression never changed. When he reached the end of the corridor, he moved on. Both with these wings and images, this corridor, and within 20 steps, he reached another corridor, only this one was black. In the depths of the inner world. Oh, he passed the first test. Well, on to the second one, Chico says as he started to sing another song. In the hallway with Issei. Issei walked down the hall again, and new images began to appear. Issei saw an image of him, side of the street seeing Kiba and Gasper with Irina, Zenobia and Gabriel. The next image was Issei hitting Gasper so hard that his fist went through Gasper from the back. The image to follow is Kiba turning the receives a blow in the face that sends him flying and landing sickening crunch. The next image is Issei looking at Irina, Zenobia, and Gabriel in an emotionless way as they remain in shock at the two deaths they witnessed. The next image was Issei hitting Zenobia in the face with a point-blank dragon shot, making her head explode. The image after that was Gabriel opening her wings, preparing to take the sky, but Issei appeared behind her with malicious intent. The next image showed the aftermath of that confrontation with Issei holding the wings of Gabriel as she laid on the ground with a bleeding back, and the boosted gear enhanced stomp, smashing his foot through her chest, ending her life. The next image showed Issei with a devilish smile, appearing in front of the shocked Irina. After that was the image of Issei embracing her, with the final one showing him squeezing her as Irina tried to separate them before she stopped moving as a crunch was heard from her ribcage, caving in and piercing her heart and lungs. The Issei in the image dropped the body and smiled sadistically, looking at the corpses around him. You said you'd be my guardian angel, but where were you to protect me from this pain? Though, I will take some of the blame for surrounding us with the wrong people. You were my first friend and nothing will ever change that. Maybe in another life, we could be together. Now, I don't think that's possible, but I hope for the better future than this. Not everyone deserves death, Issei says. The new set of images showed Issei in front of a door, then kicking the door so hard that it clears it. The image that follows is Issei being Pyeongmin and Ross having sex with Azazel. Then Azazel is trying to talk, but Issei appears on top of him and crushes his head, splashing Pyramid and Ross with Azazel's blood. The next image is Issei, watching them smiling malevolently and crying at the same time. The next image was Pyramid trying to use magic, but Issei stabs her through the chest with Ascalon. The final image showed Ross, seeming to sober up and try to process what happened, scrambling away, but Issei would just grab her by the hair and cut her head off. This was another saddening set of images for Issei to see. I feel bad for killing Ross Weisse like that. Seems like she was under the influence of alcohol, as she noticed the bottles of liquor around that he missed the first time around. I'm sorry for letting my anger take over. Unfortunately, our relationship can no longer. Maybe we'll be acquaintances again. I know you'll take action from this and own up to it. You were always the mature one of the Parage. I wish you the best of luck, Issei says in his head. The next set of images showed Issei grabbing Volley by the head and slamming it against the ground. The next one showed Volley trying to do something, but Issei uses 10 divides to render him defeated. The next image was Issei kicking Volley again and again before reaching down and snapping his neck to kill him. The next one showed Issei entering the Juggernaut Drive, grabbing the carcass of Volley and starting to fly. Next one was Issei in front of his house, throwing the carcass through the door and launching through hundreds of attacks, destroying the house with everyone inside of it. Am I always meant to destroy, a being of destruction, feeling empty inside and feeling only hate, anger, and rage? I will admit, Volley had it coming. Seems like I won, but it seems like this is the darkness in me that I must face. Very well, then. I will take that darkness, Issei says. The images ended, and Issei's expression changed, but not one with of sadness, fear, or even anger. He had a smile, not from seeing all of the images. Well, it seemed that he had no remorse for what he did in the images, but he was actually looking forward to the challenge ahead. Issei continued walking, with nothing else to see. He continued on until he reached the end of the corridor. Now in front of him was an immense staircase of gray and black color. Oh. I'm getting to the end, Issei says, the smile at the still present. It's time to end this. Now in the depths of the inner world. Laughing uncontrollably, I did not expect that, while smiling manically compared to Issei, who was anticipating the challenge. It seems that this test was not as difficult at all. Looking towards a corner of the room, isn't that right, Issei? Chico said, speaking almost teasingly. Some parts of it were funny, I won't deny that, still calm and smiling. And what were you looking for today, Issei? Chico says. You know what I've come for, dropping his smile to a smirk and spreading out his aura that was itching to kill and burning with a silent fury. Oh, it seems that the images awakened something in you, Chico says. I wonder what it will be, putting a finger on his chin. It did not wake up. It always been a part of us, a malevolent instinct, an instinct to kill, a great evil. Is it not true? Chico says. I don't know what idiocy of great evil that you're talking about, but I will own it, Issei says, still smiling. You don't see it. This test was to see a reaction to your own evil, Chico says. Yeah, I realize, but someone who had very childish and wise told me to be as I am. So if I got some evil inside me, it does not affect me, because I know who I am, and this will not change, Issei says. You know, if this was a shonen based on your actions in those images, you would be branded the villain, Chico says. So, I was branded a pervert for almost all my life. To be branded as a villain would be no different, Issei says. Wow, it seems that this test helped you understand yourself better. Not bad, Chico says. Yeah, could you stop with the games, unleashing his killer instinct towards Juko. So tell me what I have to do to get my ability, Issei says. Okay, guys, I'll handle this, Chico says, informing the clones who dissipated out of existence. And you show to be prepared, approaching Issei. To get skill, I could just tell you, since the answer was following you. However, you have the blood and flesh of Great Lead, so the rules change, smiling like a kid in a candy store. And, Issei says, a bit confused about the rules change. Easy. Getting closer to Issei and putting his finger on Issei's forehead. You have to prove to me that you deserve it. Applying strength on his fingers and Issei flying back into the wall. Ugh! Damn! Not only for damage, but remembering when Volley did the same thing of placing his finger on Issei's forehead when they first met face to face. What would have happened? Yeah, not again. I'm taking what's mine. I gotta destroy whatever obstacle to do it, Issei says, getting up from the wall, moving towards Chico. This'll be fun, Chico says, smiling like a psychopath. You versus me, with his eyes glowing amber. Bingo, Chico says as he runs towards Issei. Chico appeared in front of Issei and threw a strike towards Issei's face, who barely put up his arm to deflect some of the blow, but still flew back because of the force. Before Issei could crash into the wall again, Chico appeared from above and gave him a hammer blow, sending him into the crashing into the ground. Here, there is no boosted gear, but I can use the skills you the power of Great Red from the flesh that he bestowed upon you, Jiko says. I see, smiling at the prospect of the challenge, so it makes sense those images were dreams of destruction that he conjured up. And if he can use the power, I'll just have to use my own besides this in my inner world. As his fist gained a slight amber glow around them, though he didn't notice. Issei got up from the ground and flashed to appear beside Jiko, who was a bit surprised. Issei then threw a wild blow with his hand with his fist towards Jiko's head, who was participating to block it. However, Issei took his chance and hit Jiko in the stomach, sending him crashing into the ceiling. Damn, he doesn't know he subconsciously used it, Jiko said, grimacing at the burns at his stomach that he didn't seem to heal as he began to fall from the ceiling. Issei put strength in his legs, developing a similar amber glow, and jumped towards the falling Jiko and gave him an axe kick that Jiko took the brunt of and blow with his left shoulder and sent him crashing to the ground. Jiko grimaced up again once again, crashing twice. He quickly got up and caught Issei's right hand in his left, giving a slight wince from the pain of using the left shoulder so quickly. Luckily, the glow wasn't Issei's fist. It was still on his legs, leaving scorch marks where he stood. "Huh, you won't hit me again," Jiko says with a smile, trying not to laugh off the pain. "And who decided that?" Issei says, hitting Jiko in the stomach again, but with his left fist. Jiko flew back into the walls, grimacing once again at the pain in his stomach, knowing it was becoming a weak point for him. He was not able to get up fast enough as Issei took him and threw him in the air. "Shit, he's learning," Jiko said, seeing as now he's in the air, he was effectively defenseless as he received a kick to the chest, throwing back into the ground. Issei took a few seconds to catch his breath, but seeing Jiko get up again, he ran towards him, trying not to leave Jiko any breathing room. For old time's sake, remembering his partner. Boost! Issei's speed increased as he arrived in front of Jiko, transferring that amber aura to his fist. Jiko decided to counter with crimson aura to his fist, and both fists collided with each other, generating a huge gust of wind from the collision. Jiko took advantage of Issei's distraction from the collision and gave him a knee to the stomach, causing him to kneel over and then hitting a blow to his back Issei's head, sending him to the ground. Jiko then looked to stomp Issei's leg while he was on the ground. Issei shifted his body to prevent a stomp and kicked Jiko in the face. Unfortunately for Jiko, that leg had a smaller aura around it, causing small burns to the left side of his face, causing him to junk backwards, taking the distance from Issei, who quickly got up to prepare for another attack. "Hey Issei, don't you want to fight me with any other than fists?" Jiko says. "Like what?" Being cautious in case of another attack. I don't know, but I will use this," Jiko says, putting his hand on the ground and drawing a sword. "Oh well, I will just use this." The aura seemed to form spiked brass knuckles. "How boring. Why don't you use something else?" Jiko says. "Nah, I'm good," with a smirk. "Since he's like me, then his sword skills will be similar to mine. But I will have to get better with a sword," Issei says. "Big words for a brat," Jiko says. Issei began to jump towards Jiko, who prepared with his sword as Issei's aura's brass knuckles in the sword. Jiko jumped back from the strike and went for an overhead slash. Issei blocked the sword strike with his aura and knuckles on his left hand, who swung with his right to the Jiko, who quickly retreated and jumped back to avoid the hit. Jiko quickly glanced at the sword and saw how there was 2 burn marks of Issei who made contact with the sword. "So he can destroy metal as well, huh? And by sheer contact, you definitely will leave a wake of complete destruction." Looking back at Issei, who was smiling and ran towards Jiko, who prepared to swing, which Issei dove to the handstand and went in for a kick, which Jiko was initially dodged the leg, but as the leg passed by his face, he used a backhand slash with the sword to give Issei's left calf a cut. Issei winced at the cut and spun on his hands and jumped back, landing on his feet with another wince due to the cut at his back of his leg. Both looked at each other before charging in. Jiko went for another slash at Issei's head, who crouched down to avoid the swing and got into a position where he could land a hit to Jiko's rib with his right hand, but when connecting the blow, Jiko reversed the grip of his sword and then slashed upward, giving Issei a cut from Issei's left hip to his right shoulder. Jiko felt the blow to his ribs and began to bleed from his mouth. Both backed away from each other at once, as one had a cut on his chest and leg, while the other had slight burns on his left side of his face. His left hand had slight burns, but he had a major burn underneath his arm with a wound that he had centralized from the heat of an aura knuckles. Issei, taking advantages of the damage and enduring his pain in his leg and chest, charged forward with the intent to end this fight with the aura from his right hand to his left to enforce it. Jiko saw this and quickly crossed the sword in front of his chest, surrounded it with crimson energy as Issei's fist struck the blade. There was shattering sound as both weapons broke. The opponents fell to the ground. Jiko, from the force of the blow, Issei from his momentum. Issei on the ground taking deep breaths. Damn it! Upset with the outcome. You did well, Chico says. Then do I deserve my ability now? Annoyed as he turned towards Chico. Oh, that's right. Here, Chico says, putting his finger from his burned left hand on Issei's forehead. In doing so, Issei felt a rush of information come to him. Whoa, shocked by what he could do, and the power he possessed. It's incredible, isn't it, Chico says, looking back at the ceiling, as both are still laying on the ground. Yeah, but I can't let it consume me, Issei says. You'll be fine. Just surround yourself with the right people and use it for the right reasons. You'll be alright. Well, it's time for you to go, touching Issei's forehead again, causing him to begin to disappear. Goodbye, Issei says. Nodded Chico. Yeah, goodbye, with a small smile on his face as he looked towards the ceiling again. Yeah, you'll be alright, and closing his eyes to rest from the battle. Now back to the world at Angel's Falls. Issei opened his eyes and slowly registered his surroundings. He was back to the falls. And how did you do? Ddraig said. I think it's better to show you. Getting up from a spot after feeling the ghost scar that he received from Chico in his Hess in their fight, he walked towards the tree and put his hand on it and heard a whisper in his mind that told him to say the following, while focusing on the inside of the tree. Tamatsuru, Issei says. Out of nowhere, the tree combusted in flames for a few seconds, but the flames died down. But the tree did not look like it was burned, but it did look shriveled, as it looked like a dead tree, not a burnt tree. What the? Ddraig says. He stopped speaking as he noticed Issei fall to the ground spitting blood. Are you an idiot? What do you think you're doing using your ability in your state? Ddraig says. Sorry, I forgot my body is weaker than it was in my inner world. But you want me to explain it to you, trying to change the subject, but notice that his skin looks slightly less pale. Very well, explain, Ddraig says. My ability is called Desolation. I can burn away one's vitality, and spiritually wait and take it for myself. But offensively, he placed his hand in back to a dead tree. Tamatsu. The tree combusted again, but when the flames dissipated, there was nothing left but ashes, which flew off in the... It's incredible, depending on how you use it, Ddraig said, thoughtful on the ability. But that's not all. We would collect some twigs, and he dried leaves and placed them in a small pie. Now, rather his whole hand, he pointed a finger at the pile and concentrated the power of desolation. Tamatsu. The pile slowly lit on fire, burning the small pile of twigs and leaves. Issei quickly went to the lake and cupped his hands in water and got back to the pile before it became splashed in. However, the fire remained burning. What? Water is meant to extinguish fire, so there's more to this ability, huh? Ddraig says. Yeah, with the fire-coated the aura of desolation, it destroys what comes against it. As the fire turned a pile of ashes, Issei concentrated on the aura to remove it from the fire and stamped out to the flames. Impressive. I'm sure you realized it, but your power is similar to that of one you call your mother, but it seems like you can take it to new heights. Seems like she was a good influence on you, Ddraig said. You're right. Before he sat down, a bit tired. Before we leave, how about you recover a little, Ddraig says. Yeah, seems like a good idea, Issei replies, lying back to Aziz's body. 1 hour later, in the cave of Belzard. In the cave, a magic circle appeared, which tired Issei came out. Damn, an hour has already passed, and I have not recovered. That's easy to explain. You never use this ability, so you do not know how to adjust to it, Ddraig says. How long did it take you to use your ability at full power? Issei says, staring into the cave. It was about 3 to 4 years, Ddraig says, remembering his own training. Well, entering the first dome of the cave, which was the treasure room, I don't think I got that amount of time, Issei says. I would agree, considering that you have other aspects you wish to train to continue the ritual, Ddraig says. It will be better to get it over with. A little scared but determined, Issei says. Well, go to the golden chalice with the mixer, Ddraig says. Issei went for the chalice, but when he saw it, the mixture was not white and had a texture that was similar to chalk. Now go to the room where you got the flower, Ddraig says. Issei walked among the treasures with the chalice, and he entered through the door when he saw the oasis inside. He felt the magic around the place, remembering the time was slower than in the outside world. But he noticed something different. There was now a gigantic stone door past the flowers. Was this here before, Issei says, not remembering it, when he was searching for the flowers? This was my place to sleep. You could call it my old room. It was hidden for me by Belzard, as the others would not to scare where I lived, Ddraig said. So he brought it here. I mean, you are the Welsh dragon, so you would be more associated with Wales, and we are in France, Issei said. You would be correct. It took some time, space magic, to bring it here. After he established this cave, so the others would be looking in Wales for my cave, but it's actually here, Ddraig said. Smart, so what now? Issei replied, looking at the chalice. Well, you have to take out a little of the mixture to be able to draw the circle. As Issei entered the room through the stone doors, Draig's old room, Issei felt a finger with chalk mixture and then broke it into several pieces. And what is the circle? Issei said, taking out a piece of chalk. It will appear in your mind, Ddraig says, speaking now into his partner's mind. Concentrating until an image appeared. What is this, Ddraig? You think I can write this? Incredulous about the magic circle that he would have to draw. Calm down, I'll help you, as he proceeds to instruct Issei about where to start. Alright, here we go, Issei says, listening to Draig's instructions. 90 minutes later, Issei wiped a sweat while lying on the floor. 90 minutes of crouching and turning back and forth made him even more tired than he was before. Well, at least it's finished, Ddraig said, seeing the finished product of the magic circle that was drawn. This thing was the torture to do, so am I missing anything, Issei said. No, you have to enter but put the heart in the center and apply of your power for it to be able to start. His tone changed to a very serious tone. But Issei, this one does not compare to anything you experienced. Best thing to compare it would be from where you were from Samuel's poison. Shit, it's going to be extremely painful, huh, Issei said, looking at the roof of the cave. Very much. I am afraid. Confirming Issei's suspicion, this process will first stabilize your energy and then begin to give you immense pain. Then you will feel your soul break away from your body, and each cell is twisted by pain. Then you will take out your feelings one by one, and in the end it will be much more worse because you have to disconnect the power of Orpheus and then take it out from your core. This is not a game, because once you enter you will never be the same, Ddraig says. You think I'll change? Nervously looking at the symbol, Issei says. No, I don't know. The only one who decides that is you. The answer you want is your validation, not mine, Ddraig says. I guess that's true. Taking out his heart and gem and starting to walk towards the circle. Well, the moment of truth, let's do this. Entering the circle, almost reaching the center. No matter what happens, I'm here, Ddraig says. Thank you. It's time, Issei replies, putting his heart in the gem in the center. Good luck, Ddraig replies, proud of his friend and bare for nervous of what's about to happen. Issei sighed. Only thing that was missing was to start the process was applying his power. He was afraid that he could not hide it, but he gritted his teeth and then smiled for the reason why he was doing this, that he was prepared for this test and coated himself with power, which the circle absorbed and began the greatest of hells for Issei. When the power was absorbed, each line of blood, white blood, became red, with some particles of black and amber, and out of nowhere, the heart gem rose in the air. So did Issei, but only a few inches from the ground. The outer circle began to glow and became a lit of flame. Every second, Issei felt that worse was coming out of the outer circle and started to spin, increasing its speed. Each of the 8 small magic circles began to activate one by one. An inner circle, it lit a flame, began to rotate. The only thing that was missing was the diagram that looked like a star, which began to glow. Issei saw that the points at each star had red and amber particles that came to turn into something like needles. Then the star twitched. At that moment, the needles went and pierced Issei. Ah! Issei screamed in immense pain that came to him when he pierced through his legs, arms, torso, chest, neck, and head. The star moved a few centimeters away. At that moment, the pain went through Issei. It was all of his bones were breaking, but also disintegrating, and then repairing itself, and repeating the process over and over again. He tried to scream, but his throat could not make a noise because another needle had pierced it. The star moved again. Even with the immense pain in his body, he felt as if his skin was burned with lava. As the needles entered his body, after that, he felt like his legs exploded, then his arms, then his chest, his brain, his breaking part. He felt his consciousness could not go on, but he could never leave, nor did have the will to pass out as the pain continued. From a small circle came a bolt of lightning that pierced Issei, then a spear of darkness, another spear of light, a sword. Blades of different elements came through, and each blow broke Issei's body, or that what he felt. Nothing but pain ran through his veins. It was as if acid entered his veins. He tried to twist, and every vein in his body was marred. He tried to scream, but he couldn't. And then came the muscles, the blood. Every part of it was torture on his body as he felt like dying. His mind was broken, his spirit broken. Every muscle was broken, every blood too. His veins hurt like hell, his blood burned like lava, but then came the pain from his tendons and brain. Ah! The scream was a representation of how his soul broke. His sense disappeared, his body died. He wanted it to end, but there was still a long way to go. When he thought it was the end, a giant needle pierced his chest where his heart was. The needle connected with the heart gem. Issei vomited a large amount of blood. His eyes cried. His ears dripped blood. His fingernails bled as well. But under all of that came the extraction of his feelings. Ugh! Issei screamed when he felt how his soul was broken. His feelings came out. Rather, they felt like they were torn by a hot iron. His body trembled. His soul twisted. His feelings were disappearing, but one that disappeared hurt more, one by one. The pain was indescribable. Issei no longer screamed because he couldn't. His throat was ruptured. His body didn't respond to him, but it hurt. Everything hurt. That was the only thought that was in Issei's already fragile mind. His own personality was no longer there. He felt alone, feeling the pain that no one else could feel. His eyes lost their light. His skin lost color. Lights of many colors passed through the needle that was through his heart. Red, light, purple, yellow, white, silver, gold, orange, blue, black, brown, purple, dark yellow, blue ones with pink slashes. Most colors turned gray and disappeared. A few became faded and one stayed lit, and the rest returned to Issei's heart. Issei felt how the needle in his heart receded, but out of nowhere, one as big as his entire chest tore through him, and his mind, spirit, personality disappeared. Now, somewhere in the boosted gear, Issei's eyes slowly opened. They are no longer half traced of life. They were even worse than ones than he had before, but this time, they were like an abyss, showing nothing, no feelings, just nothing. He slowly raised his eyes and looked forward as he noticed he was in some type of white room. It was where he'd spoken to his former bearers, but this was not a bearer, but a person just like him. Look at that, Chico says, walking towards Issei so empty. I must say this was too much. Tell me, can you talk? No response. Should have expected that. It's normal after going through that pain. Look now, you will go to Ddraig, but first, I will have to explain what happened. His tone was serious, but he did not receive an answer from Issei, who only saw him with that dead look. Well, as Ddraig told you, the boosted gear will reset to assimilate, and normally the dragon will be sealed with it, but I am a part of you. But at the same time, I am not. And knowing, or rather seeing you in this state, leaving you alone would be the worst thing I could do. So I will do the one and who will go with you. So I will be the one who will be the one to go. He still did not receive. If you wonder how I do this, easy. The requirement is someone that is attached to the boosted gear. It is necessary that it should be Ddraig, but I am also attached. Also, I am part of your feelings, or like a backup of your feelings, so I will return them to you. I can't stand this robot look you're giving me. However, your feelings will be reduced because I will take part of them with me, and Ddraig knows nothing of this. This is the last time we'll see each other. It's time to awaken the power bestowed upon you by your ancestors. As he began to burn up and be set in flames, he still got no answers. Well, it's time to go, Ddraig. Goodbye, Issei, and control your emotions. As Issei disappeared, he then turned to a being that was made of fire, that had the shape of a dragon but was bigger than Ddraig, but with phoenix wings. He could have fallen to the hate and used your power of desolation to destroy all, but didn't. He seemed to analyze the portrayals around him as well. Looks like he had a better understanding of things. I don't know about forgiveness, but I do know he won't use your power, and it'll matter. I can see why you were passed on to him. Hey, Raiju Kinjaka, as Jiko burned away completely. Now, with Issei reappeared sitting in the void, and in front of him was a red dragon. Partner, Ddraig says, trying to call to his attention. Issei saw him but said nothing. Shit! He reached out and grabbed Issei within his claws and gently nudged him. Issei, partner, come on, respond, Ddraig says, worried about the only thing that he received was a dead look. No, it can't be. Tears begin to form his eyes. I knew this could happen. But no, I thought breaking down as beginning to cry. He simply continued to stare without speech or expressing trait of life. Don't worry, the ritual's already finished, Ddraig says, wiping his tears and embracing Issei as he could, seeing as how he was a dragon. Just hold on. A little, you'll be back to normal, separating from Issei. Still receiving the answer, Ddraig sat down and prepared to do what he had to do. I, Ddraig, the Red Dragon Emperor, the one who took the principles of domination from the biblical god. The one who took the principles of domination from the biblical god. A spear of color between a red and green became out of nowhere in Drake's chest. I, the one that gods fear, I give everything to my carrier, my blood, my power, my ability, my principles, everything. As the spear fully came out of his body was slowly disappearing. Ddraig grabbed the spear and slowly approached Issei each step, his body disappearing the closer he got. When he arrived at Issei, he just crouched down and spoke. This, raising the sphere as emphasis. I do not give my bearer nor my friend, his whole body almost disappearing, but to my brother, to the one who does not treat me as a weapon but as family. You are deserving of this, Issei. In order to continue living, I give you this, Ddraig says as he began to insert the sphere into Issei, and Len embraced him. Issei didn't speak, but tears did fall from his eyes. Thank you for everything, little brother, but it's about time, isn't it? Ddraig says, turning into an emerald-colored esper. Issei saw how the cracks opened on the floor, and chains came through those cracks and caught Ddraig. Well, we won't see each other for a while, at least until you have trained to unlock the boosted gear again, Ddraig says. Issei begins to disappear from the void, watching as Ddraig was being dragged by the chains to the ground. Appearing in a form of equal to Ddraig and grabbing him and then throwing him towards Issei and entering his body. It will be better that you live and help him train and mature. As the chains took Jiko and began to drag him instead. What? Ddraig says. He was in shock after happening seeing another Issei. Take care of him because I can't. After all, a pervert can't help another. Smiling before they're consumed by the crack Jiko is. And throughout the space, there was a crack sound, and Issei gained some sense of meaning. Outside in the cave, Issei came back to himself. As something came out of his body, he slowly fell to the ground while his heart gem began to break. Now, in the Hyoudou mention, crack. Rias felt a major pain in her chest, falling over. Crack. Akino felt the same. Crack, crack. Each of the girls felt pain in their hearts. The pain did not differ amongst them as they passed throughout the pain, but they were the ones that greatly affected. Being in their own rooms, one would just assume they fell asleep, as the girls would not know they lost something as they never get back. Now, with Issei. Issei was on the ground, saw something from the corner of his eye, and he looked over where there were 9 pawn pieces. 8 were opaque, red, and 1 was blue with black spots. He then heard a cracking sound and looked towards them again, and the gem was broken little by little. The pieces fell into the ground. Issei looked at the pieces as memories. With them, lost color, others faded, but were not as dull, but had a little more feeling or value to them. One of pieces gem disappeared and almost made, if not all of the feelings, them in Issei's heart also fade away. Issei just watched the pieces disappear little by little, like whispers in the end. He felt like going to sleep, but he wanted to urgently know something. Ddraig, are you still there? Issei said, tired from the ordeal and worried. Yes. Something came and substituted for me, Ddraig says, still weak as he felt his power core merge with something else when he re-entered Issei. Ooh, well, let's take a break, Issei says, closing his eyes and falling asleep. And that is the end of chapter 16. Hopefully you guys did enjoy that little segment. You know, I had to cut myself there because my friend joined my Discord. I didn't even know I was in a Discord and interrupted me in the own video, which is hilarious. But, yeah. So hopefully you guys did enjoy this part. It was definitely emotional at the end there, but it obviously kicked back because your boy Drake's still alive. Thank God. Your boy was stressing. I'm not going to cap to you. You know, this series is definitely fun. And, yeah, so just expect a lot more videos now. You know, I'm chilling again. Okay, your boy... I got a happy little soul, you know what I mean? I learned a lot of things when I was in this year of college. Like a lot. Like a lot. I had a lot of things to deal with. So I wasn't uploading as consistently as I would, you know, lessons learned, you know. You know, I was on my Vinland Saga thing, I have no enemies, you know what I mean? Even though I really should, but you gotta let things like that go. Because otherwise, you just won't ever have peace. So, yeah, this series is definitely really fun. You know, I really do. I'm glad that he, like, let go of his pacifist pain, because this is the exact same through that I had to go to before. So, thank you so much for all the support that's been going on. Palski's at 58,000 subscribers, about to hit 60K on that channel. Spartanic's approaching 40K. That's pretty cool. 3,000 subs away from that. Like, that's pretty cool. 2,800 to be exact. Or 3,800, my bad. So... thank you so much for the support, guys. If you guys want to know exactly where my, you know, little channel... oh, my birthday is in 4 days. It's the May the 20th, and I'll be doing probably a birthday stream. Because, you know, I want to share it with you guys, because it's fun. So thank you guys so much for the support. If you guys want to know exactly when I upload / my upload schedule, click the little blue link down in the description below, as well as the first link on the premiere, as well as the first link in the description. Thank you so much for the support. Let's try to hit 500 to 600 likes once again. Without any further ado, Spartanic Arts DxD out.